Greetings everyone. Today we continue our reading of Prabhuji's book, Bhakti Yoga, the Path of Love. And the last sentence that we read, Prabhuji writes, I am just a whim, or a joke from the sky, and the only mistake of my spiritual master. And we will continue from there. Prabhuji writes, aware of the abyss that separates revelation and our works, we live in a frustrated attempt to faithfully express the mystery of the Spirit. In different opportunities throughout the years, when asked about different subjects related to the spiritual life, to the divinity, to the creation, and many different topics that spiritual paths and different religions encompass in them, rather than answering the question, Prabhuji replied, think how this is relevant for you. And this is I feel it's a very significant point, something that can help us and direct us, our exploration of Prabhuji's works and different writings of other masters and holy scriptures in general. To try not just to read this and try to understand, but really try to see how those words resonate within us. After all, the objective of any spiritual path, any religion, or any inquiry into the nature of the world and our own nature is to transform us. And that's why I feel that this answer that Prabhuji gave numerous times is very important direction for our inquiry. Here Prabhuji speaks about an abyss that separates revelation and, as he writes, our works. And he begins the sentence saying, aware of the abyss that separates revelation and our works. We live in a frustrated attempt to truthfully express the mystery of the Spirit. So let's start from the point, aware of the abyss. What is that abyss? And even more than that, this aware of the abyss. We discussed it earlier. We live our lives guided by certain convictions. We perceive reality around us throughout our senses, and we interpret it based on our previous knowledge. When we approach a spiritual path, when we read writings of realized beings, when we approach the Holy Scriptures, we come with the notion that we understand. We can disagree or agree. We can reject them altogether or zealously follow them. But one thing for sure, in one way or another, we come with this idea that we understand. We can fully comprehend the message in them. And Prabhuji writes here, he begins by saying, aware of the abyss that separates revelation and our works. Throughout the history of humanity, and that's the reason that Prabhuji used we, as he writes in the name of all awakened beings that stepped upon this earth, that experience reality and try to convey some of it to their followers, to their community, within the frame, as we spoke before, of their culture, of their language, of their customs at that time. All those beings lived in a frustrated attempt to express the mystery that they encounter. In a very recent conversation, Prabhuji writes today on different topics of Western philosophy, and I don't want to spoil. These are amazing books that we hopefully will see soon, and we will be able to cherish them. Discussing certain subject of one of the great pre-Socratic philosophers, Prabhuji speaks on this topic that the truth cannot be transmitted. Once you try to convey it, it's become false. It's something so volatile that once you try to express it, it's disappeared. And in other occasions, speaking on those subjects in Prabhuji's symbolic turn, he speaks about the true meaning of the symbol. And that symbolic way is the only way that we can really convey or perceive that mystery. This is the only door for us to try to understand it. So he speaks about being aware of that abyss. And I feel that this is very relevant for us. At least to keep in mind that we might not be aware of this vast abyss that lies between what we understand, or the way we understand the reality, and the true depths of its mystery. And why it's so important, it can change our perspective. And as I said earlier, regardless if we reject a certain truth or we follow it, it can give us a different perspective. That the way to understand the words of the Master, the direction that we take in our efforts to apply them in our life. In the path of Advaita Vedanta, we advised to conceive the words of the rishis, the words of the scriptures, in 3 different stages. The first is Shravanam, which can be translated as listening, but listening attentively. When we open, when we put aside our preconceived ideas, when we create silence within our mind. So we just Shravanam. Then the second one is Mananam. We contemplate on those truths. We ponder, we explore, we try to reflect on them, we try to find those truths within ourselves. And then a culmination of this process is Nididhyasana, which is applying those revelations to our daily life. As Prabhuji mentioned in the past, on the path of religion, you only know things that you're able to live according to them. And if today we're not able to live according to certain truths, it's simply because we didn't really understand them. When Prabhuji writes about this awareness of the Abys, to me it translates as an encouragement, as a guidance for us to work harder, to focus our inquiry, to dive deep into ourselves, and to look for the reflection of those words within us, to leave the notion that we know, to leave the notion that our question been answered, to leave aside our new concepts, and to continue our exploration until those words will become our own revelation. Jai Prabhuji.